Hey everybody, so our last slideshow we were talking about energy senses. That would be vision and audition, because remember it takes light energy or sound energy for you to be able to experience those senses of vision or hearing. Our next ones are chemical senses, and you might be going, well, I see what the pictures are. Yes, you were right. Smelling and tasting, although we have some different words we're going to use for that, okay? The first one is gustation. Gustation is another word for taste. Gustation is a chemical sense, and basically receptors for taste or gustation are your taste buds, which are located on the papillae of the surface of the tongue. So if you were to stick your tongue out and look at the mirror, you see all those little dots, right? Well, those dots are papillae. Those are not your direct taste buds. The taste buds are on those papillae. You have so many taste receptor cells, though, that are in your taste buds. The number of receptor cells do vary per person. There are what's called super tasters out there. Super tasters are those people, believe it or not, maybe you are one of them. They can taste, let's say they take a taste of ice cream, and they can say, oh, this needs a tad more vanilla or a tad more salt. They can taste a cookie and be able to tell you what the different ingredients are if they've been trained to recognize those ingredients. Their taste receptors are very refined. In fact, there's a job out there of being a professional ice cream tester. And what they do is they literally work in the ice cream factory and they taste it, each vat of ice cream, to make sure it has the right combination of ingredients. Some super tasters actually insure their tongues because their tongue is their moneymaker. So very interesting job, but unfortunately, I don't think I'm a super taster. I don't know about you. One thing about our receptors are they are replaced every 10 to 14 days. So again, if you're like me, you've probably taken a bite of something that was too hot. My favorite is when somebody tells you, hey, it's hot, and you're like, yeah, okay, and then you like take that drink of coffee or soup or something, and right away it burns your tongue, right? And then for a few days in there, you really struggle in things tasting the same. But lucky for you, your receptors do replace. However, as we get older, the number of receptors that we have do diminish. That's just a natural aging process. This is why Grandma and Grandpa like to add salt to their food, because they want to be able to taste it. There are traditionally, our taste sensations consist of 5 different tastes, okay? You have 5 different taste receptors, or the kind of receptors, okay? Sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and not your daddy, but your mommy. That is that meaty taste. Some of you might feel like, hey, I have a sweet tooth. Some of you are like all about the Sour Patch Kids and you love sour. Some of you are, hey, bring on the salt. Love the chips, love the popcorn, the saltier the better. Some of you are like, nope, I love my coffee black and I like that bitter taste. And some of you are like, bring on the steak. I want my meaty, my umami taste. So those are the different, basically, the sensations that we get from taste. So why do we study smell and taste together? Because we do have a sensory interaction, which is the principle that one sense may actually influence another. So think about the last time that you got a head cold and your nose was stuffed up and you couldn't breathe, and did anything taste the same? No, it did not. And because when our nose is stuffed up, it is affecting our taste buds because of that sensory interaction. So let's move on to the sensation of smell, which the big word for this is olfaction. Olfaction, like taste, is a chemical sense. Odorants enter the nasal cavity to stimulate 5 million receptors to sense smell. Unlike taste, though, there are many different forms of smell. And you probably have smelled really good smells, and then you have smelled some really stinky stuff. So, smell and memories, basically, it connects directly to our olfactory bulb. It goes to the amygdala or the hippocampus, not the thalamus. Why is that important? Well, your amygdala has to do with your emotions, and your hippocampus has to do with your memory. So have you ever smelled something that made you remember a certain person or a certain event? Sometimes those are good memories, sometimes they're not. A lot of people don't like the smell of hospitals because sometimes traumatic or bad things have happened in hospitals. But how about the smell of grandma's house? If grandma has been a special person for you, that would definitely have a specific smell involved and a specific memory. There might be other memories. For me, it was always Christmas. Has a specific smell to it, and it's really that pine scent from the trees, and spice, pine and spice. When my parents, I was about 19 years old when my parents were going through a divorce. And so I spent a lot of time at a good friend's house. And I would walk into their house, and every time I would say, your house seems like Christmas all year round. And so the mom, this made her really curious of why I would say this. In fact, she finally stopped me and said, okay, what about it reminds you of Christmas? And I was in her kitchen, and I go, well, I realized, number one, her kitchen was wallpapered in forest green wallpaper. She also had a bowl of potpourri that was sat to the side, but it was kind of a pine Christmassy scent to it. And her mom always had fresh cookies baking. So the combination of all those senses brought Christmas to my mind every time I went into their house. But there's a reason for that, and it's very scientific, because the brain region for smell, which is here in the red, is so closely connected with the brain region involving your memory, which is in your limbic system. That is why strong memories are made through the sense of smell. We are going to move on to another kind of sense, and this is the touch senses, somaesthetic senses. We have 3 of those, and we are just going to really cover these very briefly. This is the skin sense, which is the touch, pressure, and temperature and pain. Again, these senses are you experience through your skin, primarily touch, temperature, and pain. Other skin senses like itch, tickle, and tingle are somatosenses too. But because they're so sparsely researched by psychologists, we won't really cover them in much detail. Your kinesthetic sense is the locations of body parts in relationship to each other. It's your sense of the position and movement of your body. So the kinesthetic senses come from the sensors in the muscles, the tendons, and the joints throughout your body. Closely related to this is vestibular senses. Your vestibular sense is basically your sense of balance. Your vestibular system is largely located in your inner ear. And so think about, I hope that this never happens to you or there's never a reason for this to happen, but let's say you were pulled over in your car and the police were wanting to see if you were driving under the influence. Again, I hope you are all smarter than that and that you will never drink and drive because it's such a bad idea. But your vestibular sense, how do they check that? Well, they have you walk a line. Can you keep your balance while you walk a line? They also are testing your kinesthetic senses when they have you touch your nose with your eyes closed. Can you locate your body parts in relationship to each other? So if you are touching your cheek or your eyeball, guess what? Your kinesthetic senses are off and they're going to know something is up. That is it for sensation. We're going to move on now to perception, and so join me in the next lecture.